It's your friendly neighborhood left-hand path house witch, Angel Burton. Today, I have another dear friend, Arianna Knight, on to chat with me. We will be kicking off a weekly series today. So please let me know what you think, and also if there is anything you would like us to chat about.
And thank you so much for coming on tonight. Do you want to just give the guests a little information background on yourself?
I'm Arianna Knight. Probably most people know me. Do circle readings. That's my big thing. And been doing it for a couple of years. And I offer circle readings if anyone's interested. A black magician, sorcerer, whatever you want to call me. That's about it, really.
You want to go into about what a circle reading is to kind of like start that off. That way people know what it is.
Well, when I do a circle reading, there's several things that I can tell the magician, but the first thing generally I always see are the flames that will make up the line of the circle. Exactly like if you had drawn a circle and you were about to get in it and do magic, but I see flames. And usually that will indicate to me, I kind of like to think of the flames as like a fiery wall of protection, because I can tell by the flames if, the magician is up on their protections and wards and things like that, because the flames will be really high and really thick and they'll be just really strong. If they're not, if they're really low or there are gaps, then I feel like there's something wrong. Maybe they need to do some protection work, shielding and that sort of thing. But that's the first thing I'll see. And when I move past the flames into the circle, I'll see things about the magician. And I normally see some typical things in all circles, like I'll see a journal or I'll see a desk and certain things like that. Lots of times I'll see a cauldron bubbling, which will indicate to me that the magician's working on something. They've been working on something. If it's bubbling, it's probably about to come to fruition. I could see like spirit guides or, like spirit totems. I see animals a lot. Lots of times I'll see a spirit that the magician's working really close with, like Azazel or Hecate or Horus or Odin, or just like I'll see that in their circle. Sometimes I'll see like a path. I'll see something that indicates maybe a path, like if they're like, I don't really want to know what I want to do next. Like I might see like the symbol for the Necronomicon, or I'll see a spirit and I'll say, yeah, well, I was thinking about working with her or him, or I was thinking about the Necronomicon. And I'm like, well, that's a good indication that you might want to go in that direction. So I see a lot of things like that. Lots of times I could see a curse or ill will, like I could see it like incoming. If it's outside the circle, it hasn't manifested yet, so you would have time to do protections and things. If it's inside the circle, you still want to, do your work, but it's like, it's going to manifest very soon. Like you would really have to take care of that immediately. So I can give a heads up on things like that, but it's cool and it's interesting. I say circles are like fingerprints. They all seem alike, but they're all very, very unique and different in their own way.
That sounds like that would be something really good for like self-care. Especially like
Yeah,
if you feel like you piss somebody off, to have somebody do a circle reading for you. I actually
right.
never knew what they were until you start telling me about them.
Yeah, yeah. And I accidentally read one time, and then from there I just was like, hey, can I practice doing these? And it's just my thing now. But yeah.
You said you accidentally did that, so it was just something that happened with your normal psychic senses then, right?
Yeah, this one magician that I used to know, I don't know where he is now. I just saw his one day and I was like, dude, I saw your circle, and we just talked about it, and then I started just working from there and practicing. And then there was another magician I knew that let me read his all the time, and it was fun for me. And I was learning stuff and developing an ability at the same time.
It's really, really cool because, like, when you accidentally find stuff like that, it's so much more fun than, like, being like, I'm gonna try this, and you don't get frustrated because it's something natural that you're just kind of growing, you know?
Yeah, it's just, and there's no one, you don't have, didn't have anyone to compare myself to, so I wasn't like, man, I can't read cards as good as Angel can, or whatever. Like, it's my own
Yeah.
thing, so I could just do it and not worry about comparing myself to anyone else. It was just my thing.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of stuff like that, like for psychic, growing up, I never realized how good my senses were with the dead because of TV shows. Because, we had like the Ghost Whisperer and like, what is it, the Sixth Sense and like all that stuff. So I always thought that like when you had these visions, they were like these big grand things. And it turns out that I've been seeing stuff since I was like 3, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the bad thing about media, and so, like, you finding something that's kinda unique, you're kinda, like, learning something, you don't have to worry about getting into your self-esteem, because I think a lot of practitioners expect it, and we talk about this all the time, they expect it to be like the movies, and it's so far from the
Right.
movies.
Yeah, I agree. You don't have to, just find your thing that is you and do it.
It could be something that everybody else does, like with card readings. Started with like baseball cards when I was like 8, and not baseball cards, like poker cards at 8, and then just grew from there with them. And actually, sometimes when I read cards, it doesn't make sense to me, like at all. But it makes sense to the people. Like I've done that for you, and you're like, "Oh, that makes so much sense." And I'm like, "I'm
Yeah.
glad it makes sense to you because I had no clue where that was coming from."
Yeah. And every time I do a circle reading, like I'm so nervous when I actually give it, because I'm like, I'm not going on anything except me. So it's like, I'm crazy or this is totally not. But every time they're like, damn, that's what was, they always, they was explain like, yeah, that was like one time felt like rust and stuff in a circle, and they were like, well, yeah, I've been using these, railroad ties or these old coffin nails, and you're picking up on the rust.
Actually, kind of cool. So it's like not just a nail; it's a rusty nail.
Yeah, like
That's
I'm
really
picking it
cool.
up on the rust, or it's crazy what I see. I mean, like when I get feedback on it, and it's like, damn, like one time I saw like this skeleton dog in someone's circle, and I was like, hey, is that supposed to be there? And they were like, yeah, I was actually doing work. It's like an award for me around my circle. Like, well, I was just making sure it's supposed to be there.
Interesting. That's kind of cool too. Especially, like, when you make servitors, because 'cause I'm awful. I'll make them and then forget about them.
Yeah.
Like, they've never died, but they'll like, when I go to use them again, they're in, like, really, really rough shape. So, the ones that I made it so that in between, like, workings, they just kinda power off of the magic already working. So, I'm like, "This is, like, the lazy way to do it, but there you
Yeah.
go."
It's okay.
Yeah, but, like, one of my protections is actually a member that's no longer in the Become a Living God forum. She looks like a My Little Pony, and that's one of my protections for the house. So, like, it literally looks like there's a My Little Pony running around my house, but she's me.
Yeah, I had someone else that's no longer on the forum made one more kind of like almost like a mix between a Rottweiler and a pit bull for me. So I said I wanted like a guard dog, and
Yeah. I got a literal guard dog. It's so funny because every time I do a podcast, the dog's always in here with me. So he may or may not say anything, but yeah, he's always in here. He actually sometimes decides when a podcast section is ending because he's like, okay, that's enough.
yeah, usually if I were in the house, my two dogs would be, you could be able to hear them bark and stuff.
Yeah. He's pretty good. Like he's right behind me, just sleeping. But like when he's done, he's like, okay, get up. And I'm like, "Hey, we have to end now. The dog needs to go out."
I mean,
Keep
I have a
deciding we're
cat
done.
who is just,
Uh-huh.
my cat is just another level. He, he's been getting in fights like he stays outside, but I let him in if it's, cold weather or bad weather. But he runs the streets, and then, like, he gets in fights. We saw him fighting a fox the other day. I'm like, you need to calm down. But, cats are just fearless. Like, they'll fight anything.
Have you seen the videos of the cats in Florida literally fighting like alligators? Like, and the alligator runs off. Yeah, brave cat.
But,
Cat
but
just like
then
whack whack.
yeah, but then at 6 o'clock in the morning, he comes to my front door crying because he wants to be fed. I'm like, 6 o'clock in the morning, really?
Can you go hunt or get something else? Yeah, that's how mine is too. Because I had that black cat that I've had forever, and I swear he teleports. I swear he teleports because I used to when we were in Alaska, he would sneak out, right? And I'd be like, the cat is not in the house. And we'd look everywhere. I'm like, the cat is not in the house. I tell you, the cat's not in the house. We look out the door, like the glass door. There's the cat. I'm like, there you go. I told you the cat was in the house.
Yeah, and my cat, like, if I ever order DoorDash, you know how you order DoorDash and then they have to take a picture? He will get in, because I always say leave it at my front door. He insists on being in every picture DoorDash
No,
does.
that's
He
funny.
photo bombs.
He's making sure. He's like, do I want to eat this before you get it?
What you got? I might want that.
I found out I had a package from DoorDash the other day. I wasn't expecting my package from Amazon for another 2 days. And when I looked at my food, I was like, oh, my package is there too.
It was good.
Yep. Aliens. You want to talk about aliens? Because I know we were talking about them years ago.
What's
Yeah,
that?
aliens. I have a story. Because remember how, like, what was it, 2 years ago that you had all that stuff on your front porch with the toys and then the lights and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the toys would just start playing on their own.
Yeah. So the other day I was outside, and it's not drones because I don't think the drones are even coming here yet. I was looking up in the sky, and they say Florida has a lot of like extraterrestrial activity anyways, right? And suddenly, like, I was looking out my window because my bed's up against my window, right? Or my bed is up against my window. And I looked out and I could see like the lights and this, it was a clear night. Suddenly it got completely dark in the backyard. And it started flashing red and green and blue and then like this really, really bright light. Okay. And I'm like, all right, let's close the blinds. Well, then I fell asleep. I woke up, and in my room, there was about 12 blue lights, like orbs, but not orbs. They were far more physical than orbs. In my room, they came kind of like over me because of my window and like disappeared out the window. It was, I cannot figure out what they were. I know they weren't spirit orbs because they were like blue LED, not like mystical white. If you know what I'm talking about, like everybody knows what a normal orb looks like. I do not know what it was.
Have you felt better since you saw them?
I haven't really noticed anything, really. They came something like that like a year ago came too, but at that time I was so drained that I felt worse afterward. But when they came back this time, I think I was more like curious. But you know what? I've been having insomnia since. So maybe it's better. I have more energy than I've had.
It just made me think of when I was really sick with COVID and Azazel, Abaddon, Bilal, and a Maimon did that color therapy on me where they each had a certain color.
Yeah.
They had red, blue, green, and yellow, and like, I mean, I was about to die, like literally about to die. And they did that, and like, I started getting better. Like, it was like they made like this circle and went around me, touching me with these lights. And I felt so bad, like I didn't even question it. I was just like, well, this is Zazel. I trusted Zazel more than anyone, so I'm just gonna let them do their thing. And And yeah, like they would just circle around my body in my bed with these lights. And then when I felt good enough to, look into it, I realized that they were doing like a form of color therapy, and color therapy dates like all the way back to like the Egyptians did color therapy. So, I mean,
Makes sense.
yeah, and the Greeks and Romans, like, they used to do a lot of, like, there's a lot of stuff now that we think is weird, but I mean, they did it back then. Like, they had special rooms just for color therapy. So,
Maybe it was. That would make sense. Who was blue? Do you remember who was blue?
Azazel was red,
Okay.
Maymon
Okay.
was yellow.
Okay.
I think Bilal was green, so maybe Abaddon was yellow. I think
Okay.
Abaddon was yellow.
You know what? That explains the red lights that I see every once in a while, just randomly, like in my room and stuff. I mean, I've always thought it was him because I feel afterwards, but I'll see like red lights. So maybe that's what that was. Because as you know, I've been having a lot of hip and back issues.
Azazel was red.
Mm-hmm.
Maymon was yellow. Abaddon was blue. Abaddon was blue because Bilal was green.
Okay.
I think I said it backwards or something, but
Okay, that makes sense. That's possible.
so yeah.
I'm gonna
That's
have to
something
dig
to
into
look
that.
into. I wish I
Yeah.
need to dig into it more and write up a thing on it, but I just don't have time.
Exactly. You know what? That makes sense because the 2 times that it happened was in time that either was in emotional or like physical pain. So that really makes sense. That I'm gonna look into
Yeah, that
that.
does make sense.
Yeah. Color therapy, mental note to self, look into color therapy. Yeah, but yeah, it was just so weird. I always jokingly say because of Scientology being right here in Clearwater that they weren't far off and it's true, and that's what it is. Because they always say Florida has a really high UFO, like just in
Yeah.
general, just unverified stuff. And I'm like, I believe it. Are you doing anything new or exciting with your craft?
Well, there's this thing that I want to start doing where I want to see if when I do a circle reading, I can change something about the circle. Um, like maybe leave something in the circle and then the magician be able to find it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, lose.
Hey, yeah. Well, that'd be really cool. Like a scavenger hunt in the spiritual realm. I like that.
Yeah. I was gonna do it with Darkest Night Circle right before Christmas, but I ended up getting I did do a circle reading, but I had so much going on I forgot that I wanted to try that. So maybe I can go back and do that.
Like, let me just change this now. What else? So, I'm trying to think. I just had the thought and it went away. So let me regain that. That's the one thing I like about this podcast is it's like just 2 people talking, so it can literally go anywhere. Your patron and your matron, how did you come across each of them? Like, how did you know they were them? Like, your ones?
Let me think. Well, Azazel, when I first started doing like magic, because I was raised Christian, I just had it in my head that all the planets just had it out for me for some reason. So I started working with each planet. Like Monday, I'd work with the moon, Tuesday, Mars. I just went through the list. Well, it was close to around Christmas time, and I had been working, I'd been doing the planet, and I believe it was like a Saturday night, and I wake up in the middle of the night to see this veiled entity standing beside my calendar because I had a calendar hanging on my bedroom wall, and I'm like, what? So at first I thought it was like Kronos or someone, but the more I dug into it, it wasn't like a robe; it was like a veil. So I kept searching it, and it was Azazel, and I realized that I was using the sigil for Saturn, which Saturn and Azazel have one that's just alike. So I was like, unintentionally, Azazel just, I pulled him to me, I guess, and so that's how I discovered Azazel and started working with him. And Hecate, I just naturally took to working with her. I just always liked working with Hecate. So there was one night that my daughter was with her. He's her ex now, but the house they lived in, they had roommates and stuff, and she called me just freaking out because everyone in the house was just fighting and going at it. And so I did some work with Hecate, and I was on my way to her house because it had gotten really bad. And she called me back and she said, "Mom, what did you do?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Everybody in this house just left." She was like, "My ex and his friend went one way, the other roommate left and went another way." She said, "Now I'm just here by myself." So I said, "Well, don't underestimate the power of your mom."
So I have always been obsessed with Saturn, like as a kid. Like the more that I like grow, I'm like, oh, that's why you're in my life, you know? Because my first experience with Azazel was when he was I was like 13, 14, and I had no clue who he was. No clue. Wasn't interested in what he was talking about. It was like just not the time in my life for that. So he waited and then came back when I was ready. Hecate, I always think it's because of the aspect of her that was a consort to Apollo. If you follow that Greek myth, I think that's how I got my connection with her, because it started with Artemis and Apollo, and then it went to not Persephone, but her maiden aspect, which is her maiden name, Corey. And then it went to Persephone, and I think that's what kind of brought her to me, and then she kind of stood out. Even though I would say Artemis, like they're co-matrons. Because Artemis is still very much the first artist that I worked with, and I tend to pull to her too.
Sadly, shortly after this, we had technical difficulties with our audio, so that's why we have the suddenly ending. But have no fear, we will be back next week with another episode. I really enjoy this chat. Until next time, stay safe and stay true to yourself.